Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and it is a big day of Throne of Eldraine preview cards. We're going to recap and analyze all the cards that were previewed over the last 24 hours or so. And if you're curious as to the sources of these preview cards, which content creators had which one, check out the description below. All the information is down there. Also, if you're still looking to pre-order a booster box of Throne of Eldraine, or if you're still looking for Commander 2019 decks, check out the link for FlipsideGaming.com down there as well. If you use that Heroes promo code, you can save a little cash while you support the channel. That's always appreciated. But without any further ado, let's get into it. Real quick, we do have one token to show you. This came off Magic Arena. It is a Ferry Token. We have already seen the food tokens from Throne of Eldraine, but here is another one. Ferry Guidemother. Not Godmother, but Guidemother. This is a limited card. I can see myself maybe playing it depending on what my deck looked like. If I was going to go Selesnya colors maybe, and I had some big dumb green creatures that I'm afraid wouldn't be able to get their damage across later in the game, well, making them jump for just a white and one, even if it is sorcery speed, could be good. Also gives them a little boost until end of turn, +2/+1. The creature side of this is kind of underwhelming. A 1/1 flyer for one. Just not good enough these days, even in the limited environment typically. So I'm not going to play it for the creature side, but I might play it for the adventure side some of the time. The exception to that would be a build that has some strong fairy tribal synergy. Might not always make your cut though. Giant Killer. Okay, now this is a very good limited card. It is a rare. You're not going to see it a lot, but if you get the opportunity to play with it, you're going to be very happy. So you get the flexibility here because it has the adventure side and the creature. The adventure is an instant. White and 2, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It is conditional, but it is at least at instant speed. I do like that. The creature itself is also very good. It's a 1-drop 1/2, pay a white 1, tap target creature. So we've seen these type of cards before, and they've been good in limited. But when you add the instant speed to the adventure and the flexibility of either being able to play the adventure, then the creature, or just the creature if you need to, this feels really, really good. Now, outside of limited, could this see standard play? It could, just because white doesn't have a lot of answers this cheap to deal with problems on the battlefield. So if I do have a mono white or mostly white deck and I don't have access to black and red, for example, this could be an option. We'll have to kind of see what the meta looks like. Mystical Dispute. This is a very solid uncommon. This is definitely seeing standard play because Teferi Time Raveler exists, and as long as that card is out there, this card is going to have a pretty good target. It might not be the best option, but you could play this in standard or limited for that matter in the main deck, because even if the opponent isn't playing blue, it still works. It's not as good, but it still works. Now, I do think this card might really shine, though, in other formats, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, especially as you start getting deeper into the older formats. Mana tends to be leaner and blue tends to be better, so I do think this will see play in multiple formats. Turn into a pumpkin. We're used to seeing these type of effects in limited where you get to bounce an on-land permanent. Could be one of your own, could be an opponent's. Many times you can bounce one of your own things to protect it, or if it has a good enter as a battlefield effect, bounce an opponent's thing to try to tempo them. This one, though, is a little expensive at first glance, a blue and 3 for this ability, but it is an instant, of course, and it has adamant. If I pay 3 blue as part of the casting cost of a blue and 3, then I also get a food token, which could be relevant in the limited game. We're not really clear how relevant yet, but I'm assuming there'll be enough payoffs for that to be pretty good. Now, what I really like about this card in this particular limited environment is how it interacts with adventures. So if I play an adventure, then play the creature off of it, bounce that back to my hand at some point, now I can play the adventure and the creature again. Tons of value there. Because of that, this is a great limited uncommon with those cards at least. Next we have Murderous Rider. On the left side you see the normal copy, on the right you see the showcase copy. This is a zombie knight, so okay, we're starting off with some relevant creature types. We already have enough information to say that Mardoom Knights is going to be a thing in limited. So aside from all that, how good is this card? Well, it's very good. Check this out. Instant speed adventure, swift end, 2 black and 1, destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. Very reminiscent of Heroes Downfall, which was extremely good removal back in its day. A little bit different, obviously, but this is fantastic. Not only can I go ahead and do that at instant speed for 2 black and 1, but later on I could go ahead and play this creature, get a 2/3 lifelink creature for 2 black and 1, which is very good. Beyond that, if it dies, it goes to the bottom of my deck as opposed to the graveyard, which a lot of the times means if I have a shuffle effect of some kind, I might be able to work it a little bit closer to the top of the deck. Maybe it comes up again over the course of the game. That would be pretty sweet, right? This is going to be phenomenal in draft or sealed. Easily first pickable in a draft pack. It is a rare. It should be good. But this is going to be awesome because it doesn't set you down a certain path necessarily. Like, sure, it costs 2 black and 1, but I don't care if I'm in Knights or not. If I am, bonus points. But even if I'm not, the removal is fantastic, and the creature attached to it is also fantastic. And Standard, absolutely, this is going to see Standard play. Another card that can hit Teferi Time Raveler, plus, of course, so many other targets because it is so flexible. Wicked Guardian. Okay, so this is the Wicked Stepmother. So this is a 4-2 for 4. You know, I usually don't really like those type of cards for draft or sealed because they tend to trade down with 2-drops a lot. That's not good economy. This one is a little different though because of the ability. When it enters the battlefield, you may have it deal 2 damage to another creature you control. If you do, draw a card. Okay, so if this actually does replace itself and I get the 4-2 for 4, that feels a whole lot better to me. Now, this is a common. You might be able to pick up multiples of this in a draft, and the reason you might want to do so is if they do give us a number of good 3 toughness creatures that are economical, especially in black, then yeah, this card could get better. Or if they're smaller creatures that have good death triggers. If that's the case and you have those type of things going on in the draft and sealed environment, then sure, this could become a utility card and could be very good potentially. Wishclaw Talisman. I love the top down design. This is the monkey paw. It's here to give you some wishes, but there's a catch. When you wish for something, you get to tutor, but then you give this to your opponent. They get to do the same, but then it comes back to you, and you get to do it one more time. So if you're playing fair with this card, yes, you get to tutor twice, they get to tutor once. Maybe you still come out ahead, but I get nervous allowing my opponent to tutor. So what can you really do with this card? Let's start off in an unlikely place this time, Vintage. I think this card will be incredible in Vintage, simply because there's exploits, namely Voltaic Key, Manifold Key. You'd be able to just use all the wishes yourself, and you could just go get your Time Vault and call it a day, right? I do think you will see that happen in Vintage. Standard and Modern, does it actually see play there? I think it could. Voltaic Key is Modern legal, Standard still has Manifold Key. This also plays well with Ashiok Dreamrender and Teferi Time Raveler. Play this, make a wish, and because you can only use this on your turn, your opponent can't wish right away, just bounce this back to your hands. There you go. You might be able to tutor over the course of the game a few times, which could be very oppressive. Commander, there's tons of things you could do with it. Keep untapping it, bounce it, remove counters, whatever. Or you could use it as a political card and kind of spread the wealth a little bit. That's an option too there. Limited is probably going to play a little more fair, but like I said, that might not be a bad thing. If you tutor twice and your opponent tutors once in sealed or draft, you're still probably going to come out ahead most of the time and be just fine. It is a little bit of a risk though. Witch's Vengeance. Okay, on the left you see the regular copy. On the right you see the extended art copy. So this is a good sideboard card to have in Standard to deal with any sort of tribal shenanigans that could be happening. Elementals were good last season. They could be even better this season because most of those key cards were coming out of the last set, core set 2020. Now this set is also bringing some solid Knight synergies in Mardu colors, and maybe fairies could be a thing too. If that's the case, it's going to be a good thing that this card exists for sideboards. You don't want tribal strategies to run out of control. You want some kind of way to relieve the pressure. This card does that. So I do think it will see some Standard play out of boards. Same thing in sealed, maybe more so draft. If you come up against a Knight strategy, wonderful, side it in. Blow Your House Down. I love the flavor here. That's probably the best thing about this card. But it is playable as a one-of in draft or sealed. It could sometimes close out a game for you under the right circumstances. Brimstone Trebuchets. Not much to say about this card. I do think it's good and limited for the Mardu Knight strategy, and this would be great in multiples if you're going down that road, perhaps. Watch out for Blow Your House Down, though, obviously, because that will take this out. Another place I might consider playing this is Commander in a Knight Tribal build, because the damage does hit all your opponents. Burning Yard Trainer, another good card for Mardu Knights and limited. It has Trample and Haste. It's a 3/3. It does cost you a red and 4, though. You really want another Knight on the battlefield to get the full use out of this card. And that is situational. Sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't. When it does work out, though, giving another Knight +2/+2, Trample and Haste alongside this could be a pretty devastating turn. Embercleave. This one's a mythic. On the left side is the regular copy. On the right side is the extended art copy. It is a legendary artifact equipment. It has flash, and that's the key to this card. Limited, you're going to be happy that this thing is a mythic and you're not going to see it a lot. For 2 red at times, or maybe a little more than that, it might simply close out a game out of nowhere. You can't even really play well around this, because even if you think your opponent might have it for some reason, you could chump block, but the trample and the double strike could still kill you. That's insane. Could this see standard play? Maybe. I could see this perhaps in the evolution of the mono red deck, which is going to be an aggressive deck with like Chandra Spitfires, I think. This could fit into a build like that. Joust. This is a sorcery, but it has pretty good economy for limited for sure. Being able to have one of your creatures fight another creature for just a red and 1, that feels real good. Also, if you target one of your knights, it will get +2/+1 until end of turn, even better. Could this see standard play? I think it might see a little bit. I could see throwing this into a feather deck. There's already some knights in there to begin with. Once Upon a Time, not only is that a cute fairy tale name, but this is a powerful rare, maybe one of the more powerful cards we've seen so far, as a matter of fact. So it lets you dig for a land or a creature card. You can go 5 deep, reveal the card that you choose that goes in your hand. The rest go to the bottom of your deck in a random order. Nothing too crazy, right? But check out the casting cost here. Green and 1, instant speed, that's pretty good. But if this is the first spell you've cast this game, you can play it without paying the mana cost. Yup, this could be a free spell for you. And remember, we now live in the world of the London Mulligan. So yes, if you have to mulligan and this is in your deck, that might make that mulligan a lot more forgiving, no doubt. So what do you do with this card? Well, I think it could see some standard play. For example, maybe a ramp deck would be interested in this, because those types of decks are going to care when they get lands as opposed to creatures at different points in the game. Modern, though, I think is where this is going to really shine. Tron, Neobrand, or really any creature-based combo deck could be very interested in this. What about Legacy? Would I try it there? Yeah, maybe. At least give it a go in lands or depths build, see how it plays there. Limited, it will be a good card there. It's a rare. It might be a little disappointing that it isn't a big bomb creature or something like that. At the same time, though, I think you're going to be happy with the utility that you get out of this card. Questing Beast. Okay, so this is a legendary creature beast. It's a mythic rare. And boy, is this pushed. 2 green and 2 for a 4/4, but look at the list of things on here. Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste, can't be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. Whenever this deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. There is a lot happening here for what you're paying into this. Yes, this sees standard play, probably in more than one type of deck. This could even see modern play. Commander, another strong green creature for that format. Limited if you're lucky enough to see this mythic. Sure, it's a huge bomb. You're going to want to play with this if you can. Incredible card. Get used to seeing this one. Return to Nature. This one's a reprint. We saw it in War of the Spark, but it gets some new Throne of Eldraine art. Very relevant to what's going on in that world, which is cool. So, when it comes to limited, this will most likely be a sideboard card, but we haven't seen the whole set yet, and so far there's been a number of artifacts and enchantments. Who knows? This could be very main deckable. It just depends on how the limited formats shake out. When it comes to standard, maybe a sideboard card, just depending on where that meta goes. Wicked Wolf. On the left, you see the regular copy. On the right, you see the extended art copy. This is a rare, but it's going to be a good limited card. For draft or sealed, I'd be happy to play this. One thing I do like about it, when it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target creature you don't control, so you don't have to do that. But if you do, and you have a food token already, you can put the fight trigger on the stack, sacrifice the food token. This will get the +1/+1 counter and be indestructible until end of turn. Not a bad way to make an entrance. Now notice that it does tap when you use that ability, but it doesn't cost anything to use the ability other than sacrificing the food, so you can kind of do that on the fly at any time. In standard, I think it's a little too small for what you're paying for it, and the consistency issue, if you don't have food tokens, could be a big problem. Really not worth your time with no food tokens in play. Wildwood Tracker. I'm not crazy about this one, even for draft or sealed. Here's my issue with it. 1-drop 1/1. Whenever this attacks or blocks, if you control another non-human creature, this will get +1/+1 until end of turn. So the idea here is, at least as far as combat's concerned, you're able to play a typically 2 casting cost creature on turn 1. Okay, that sounds good, but you do need to have that other non-human creature in play. It needs to stay in play, and outside of combat, this is still a 1/1, making it very fragile. Granted, you're not paying very much for it, don't get me wrong, but I'm hard-pressed to think there's not a 2-drop that could be better than this in my pool that I would just want to play over it. Just kind of feels inconsistent in the early game, and later in the game where it could be more consistent, it's not going to matter that much anymore. the 2/2 in combat isn't all that great on turn 6 or turn 7, right? So unless there's some kind of elf or warrior strategy we haven't seen yet, this is something that I probably would skip most of the time. However, it's not unplayable. I could see myself running it sometimes, especially in sealed if I just don't have better things, and if I have some consistent 2-drops that are non-humans. One place I might try this out, though, is maybe Pauper Stompy. Doom Foretold. Okay, I like the art, I like the name of the card, but that's as far as it goes for me, honestly. I'm not real high on this one. Here's why. Forecasting costs. That's a good amount of resources. And it is a reciprocal effect. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. If that player can't, they discard a card, they lose 2 life, you draw a card, you gain 2 life, you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance, but then you have to sacrifice this. If there was a possibility that maybe, say in a game of Commander, that could happen a number of times, or in a game of Standard even, if it could happen a number of times, that would be great. But it's only going to happen once. And if you're the one that can't go ahead and sacrifice something, then you kind of sort of break even. You lose 2 life, but you gain 2 life. You discard a card, you draw a card, so it's kind of like rummaging. You get the token at least, I suppose. Now, if your opponent is the one that can't do it, then this is a little bit better, but is it that amazing? 4-point life swing, a 2/2 knight token with vigilance, that's okay. Being able to draw a card is always great, but you're just replacing this card. Your opponent discarding a card, that's really good too, but they get to choose what they're discarding as well. So, I don't know, I just feel like it's a big risk. It's a little expensive for the risk you're taking. Sure, there are some small board states where this might work out for you, but yeah, it's not something I want to be doing in Standard, honestly. When it comes to Limited, it's going to be better there. This might make sense if you can create a lot of food tokens, I guess. We just have to figure out how consistent that strategy could be as we see more cards from the set. But still, I might just have better 4-drops that are more consistent than this. Commander, I suppose it could be interesting, maybe kind of fun, I guess. This next one comes to us from a Russian language preview, but this card was leaked a number of days ago, so we have a good idea of what the translation is, and that's on the left side. The Royal Scions. Okay, so this is the Will and Rowan Planeswalker together, and I think this is pretty good. You might look at these abilities and be like, yeah, okay, they seem fine, but look at the casting cost. Red, blue, and 1, and it comes in with 5 loyalty? That's pretty tough to deal with. There's a +1 that lets you loot. Looting is never bad. There's another +1, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. That could feel very good in an aggressive strategy. The -8, draw 4 cards when you do. This deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards in your hand. Any target is a lot of flexibility. Might even be able to finish off an opponent with this. So ultimately, I do think this does see Standard play because of the cheap casting cost and the high loyalty, if nothing else. Imagine playing this, though, with like Dreadhorde Arcanist. I think it could be very good there. And like I said, I do feel like this will fit best into an aggressive strategy, more so than, say, a control strategy. Limited, it's a Mythic Planeswalker. It should be a bomb. It is a bomb. Okay, this next one comes to us from a Portuguese language preview, loosely translated, Ranger of Carvalhandia. Okay, so this thing is an Elf Knight, that's worth noting right off the bat, and it's an adventure. So here's the drawback for me, though. Bring Back, the adventure side, is a sorcery, costs the same as the creature itself, which is 4 Selesnya hybrid mana, and you get to create 2 1/1 white human tokens when you use it. So then later I can pay the same casting cost to get this 2/2 creature, which does have an ability. It can tap to give creatures you control +1/+1 until end of turn. The problem I'm seeing, though, is I'm getting 4/4 power toughness for 8 mana. Now, granted, I'm also getting the flexibility where I don't have to play the adventure. I get the choice of doing the adventure, then later the creature, or just going right to the creature. And that is worth something. There's value there. But I still feel like the economy's off for this card. Not really feeling it for Standard, but even with those problems, I still think this is a pretty good card for Draft or Sealed. Here's why. It's a knight, and that's going to be critical for a lot of decks to begin with. Secondly, it does allow you to pump everything in a go-wide strategy. You're going to find value there just with that ability alone. And at times, that could even be game-ending. Also, this interacts well with Love-Struck Beast, which we saw last week, so maybe there's other cards that the human tokens will interact well with. Commander players, yeah, Elf Tribal, Knight Tribal, go-wide strategies, here's a card you might want to consider. More top-down design here with Enchanted Carriage. Okay, there's good value here for Limited. I don't really feel this one for Standard, but I think in Draft or Sealed, maybe more so Sealed sometimes, this could be a decent card for you. It's a 4/4 vehicle with a crew cost of 2. It costs 5 to cast. but when it enters the battlefield, you create 2 1/1 white mouse creature tokens. So those tokens could go ahead and crew the vehicle, which is kind of nice. But what I like about this when it comes to your limited games is when you get to turn 5 or 6, a lot of times those 1 and 2 power creatures don't really feel as relevant anymore. This keeps them relevant into the mid-game, and that's not bad. It doesn't have trample, it doesn't have evasion, it might not always make your cut, but I do think it is serviceable. Jousting Dummy, artifact creature Scarecrow Knight, so pay attention Reaper King Commander fans out there. So outside of that very specific situation, do I play this card? Well, not in Standard, maybe some of the time in Draft or Sealed. Perhaps more so in Draft than Sealed, where I'm able to put together more Knight synergies, because you want to be pretty heavy on the Knight plan if you're going to play something like this. In a vacuum, without those Knight strategies behind it, this isn't going to feel very good. At 2/1 for 2, granted, you can pump the power so it could trade up, but you're technically not really trading up because you're pumping mana into the power to make it trade up. Yeah, most of the time this will just be in your sideboard. Alright, with that being said, those are the cards for today. We're going to come back tomorrow and do the same thing, recap everything that happens over the next 24 hours or so. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.